Dear Mr. President, dear Mr. Secretary General, dear Madam Deputy Secretary General, distinguished members of the Parliamentary Assembly, dear ambassadors, excellencies, it is a great honor for me to be here among you and to address you on behalf of the Moldovan people. We are a small country with limited natural resources. However, our people are fully determined to build a modern, democratic and prosperous country. April 2009 events have put our national capacities and the European aspirations of our people to a serious test. Today, after 3 years of democratic governance, I strongly believe that the European path that the Moldovan people has chosen is irreversible. Therefore, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to you, distinguished members of the Parliament, as well as to the President, the Secretary General of the Council of Europe and the Venice Commission, for your interest and for following closely the developments in the Republic of Moldova. And in particular, I would like to thank you for your involvement and your personal contribution to finding a solution in order to overcome the constitutional stalemate in our country. The governing coalition of the Republic of Moldova, which is called the Alliance for European Integration, is acting in order to promote reforms and transform our country into a genuinely democratic and European state based on the rule of law. Today I can state that after a relatively short time period, the changes in our country have become visible. Now we are focusing on the judicial reform, on stimulating business opportunities and fight against corruption. We are well aware of the fact that these actions, they fall within a broader process, a complex one, which requires considerable efforts and even sacrifice. But at the same time, we are determined to carry through these important reforms for the welfare of the Moldovan people and Moldova as a country. The democratic developments in our country are possible also due to our membership in the Council of Europe. This is an honor for us. The standards and requirements of the organization have helped us to implement modern institutional reforms. At the same time, our vision for the future is for Moldova to become a fully fledged member of the European Union. This will provide better conditions for our citizens, but at the same time this will contribute to greater regional and international security, and this will represent a solid foundation for prosperity and confidence and trust. Ladies and gentlemen, upon accession to the Council of Europe, which happened 17 years ago, my country has undertaken a number of commitments to strengthen democracy, to build the rule of law, to respect human rights and fundamental freedoms. In order to ensure democratic transformations of our society, concrete steps and measures were undertaken. We have developed the legislative framework and we have put in place appropriate mechanisms for the implementation of reforms. We have identified shortcomings in our judiciary system, and therefore we decided that we should develop and adopt a justice sector reform strategy for the period 2011-2016, which is aimed at ensuring sustainability and integrity of this sector. The overall objective of reform is to make justice accessible, effective independent, transparent, professional and accountable to its citizens. We would like to build a justice system that complies with European standards, that will ensure the rule of law and that will restore public trust and confidence in the judiciary. Since the beginning of this year, a package of normative documents were adopted aimed at promoting reforms and combating corruption. Clear procedures were defined for the selection of judges and for the evaluation of their performance. Also, we have amended our legislation, which makes possible to lift the immunity of judges for acts of corruption. And also this package of legislation will increase the transparency of the Moldovan courts and of the Superior Council of the Magistracy. We are working hard to reform the prosecutorial service and the law enforcement agencies, in particular the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the police. The draft budget for 2013 that was approved last week by the government provides an increase by 55% of the budget for the justice sector. This will be the biggest budget which the judicial system of Moldova has ever had. Now, with respect to human rights, in 2010 we have initiated a structured dialogue with the European Union in this area, and in the framework of this dialogue we have Moldovan experts and representatives of the major international actors participating, like the European Commission, the Council of Europe, OSCE and the United Nations. The assistance provided by the Council of Europe in order to improve human rights is very valuable. At the same time, the Council of Europe facility that was launched on the basis of the political priorities outlined in the Eastern Partnership, they provide added value and strengthen the synergies between the two organizations, including the perpetuation of European values. We believe that the joint programs of the two European organizations, they have a consolidated impact on democratic transformations. For instance, the Council of Europe and the European Union joint program on democracy support in the Republic of Moldova, the program that was initiated after April 2009 events, has brought good results in a relatively short period of time. As an example, I would like to mention that we have developed the plurality of opinions and the freedom of the media. This progress became possible after the Council of Europe and the European Union supported Moldova to establish a press council, but also we received assistance to develop a code of ethics for journalists. At the same time, a number of laws were passed on the denationalization of media outlets, but also laws were passed to enhance the freedom of expression. And these laws, they transpose into the national legislation the case law of the European Court. These laws represent an important achievement of the national media organizations, and these laws compel public authorities to denationalize media outlets which are funded with public media, thereby encouraging a fair competition in the printed media. Over the past 3 years, the freedom of expression, which is primarily an achievement of the Moldovan citizens, has improved considerably, and this fact is equally recognized by the civil society and international organizations. I would like to highlight that our government has placed human rights at the core of its national policies. This is our primary objective. We believe that the citizen and the welfare of our citizens should be at the forefront of our actions. Now, from a global perspective, I would like to say that we followed closely the events in North Africa and the Middle East, and more recently we saw some hate speech intolerance, instigation to violence. These events, these things show once again the importance of keeping human rights on our agenda. The Council of Europe is the organization which has the tools and the capacities, and these tools and capacities should be used for this purpose, for maintaining human rights. We will closely follow the First World Forum for Democracy, which is due to start 2 days from now at the initiative of the Council of Europe. We believe that this forum shall emphasize the importance of dialogue, negotiations and compromise, because these values should be used at both the European level and worldwide in order to avoid any misunderstandings and abuses of human rights and fundamental freedoms. For the Council of Europe member states, including for the Republic of Moldova, there is one institution, the institution of justice. This institution is the European Court for Human Rights. Many Moldovan citizens have submitted applications to the ECHR, and as a result of these applications, our state has been reminded of its primary responsibility to ensure compliance with the European Convention on Human Rights. In this context, I want to say that we support the reform of the ECHR and the recommended actions following the conferences in Interlaken, Izmir and Brighton. We understand that the reform of the ECHR depends on the activity of the Council of Europe and depends on the willingness of each member state to ensure effective protection of human rights at the national level. And I mean here not only the adoption of some European and international standards, but also the implementation and proper enforcement. This is also the case of the Republic of Moldova, and I can confirm to you, I can speak here on behalf of the democratic government, on behalf of the political leadership of which I am a member of, that there is political will to implement these standards. At the same time, there are deficiencies in terms of respecting human rights and democratic transformations in the eastern parts, in the eastern regions of our country. The perpetuation of the Transnistrian conflict undermines our national security and our territorial integrity. It impedes economic development and divides our society. Our policy therefore is focused on promotion of dialogue and consolidating confidence between the two sides of the Dniester River in order to reintegrate Moldova within its internationally recognized borders, so that our state becomes a functional state with clear European perspectives. The Transnistrian region should be granted a special status within the Republic of Moldova, and this will provide the region with a high level of self-governance. Defining a special status is the key task of political negotiations in the 5+2 format. This should generate a reasonable compromise based on the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic of Moldova. Council of Europe has an important role in this process through the confidence-building measures on both sides of the river Dniester. We express our gratitude for the valuable support provided by the member states, and we count on their further voluntary contributions, so that this confidence-building project can be expanded and prolonged. We also believe that it is absolutely essential to transform the existing peacekeeping mechanism into an international civilian mission, which is aimed at building confidence rather than separating the sides. We count on the OSCE, the Russian Federation, Ukraine, the European Union and the United States. We count that these actors will combine their efforts towards finding a lasting solution for the Transnistrian conflict and the reintegration of the Republic of Moldova. Equally, it is important to reiterate that Russian forces that are present on the territory of Moldova without the consent of our state, of the host nation, and contrary to our constitutional provisions and to the international commitments of Russia, should be withdrawn. Finally, we welcome PASE resolution adopted yesterday, on October the 2nd, on the report regarding the honoring of obligations and commitments undertaken by the Russian Federation, in particular regarding the need for Russian troops and ammunition to be withdrawn from the territory of the Republic of Moldova. Distinguished audience, the Republic of Moldova is making progress on its path towards European integration. We continue our negotiations on an association agreement with the EU, and earlier this year negotiations were launched on a deeper, comprehensive free trade area. So, together with the European Union, we have set ourselves a very intense agenda of negotiations, and we will make concerted efforts to respect the timetable and to achieve this ambitious goal. This goal being to complete negotiations by the next summit of the Eastern Partnership that will take place next year. At the same time, I can speak of progress being made, that Moldova has made in implementing the conditionalities on a visa liberalization regime, and therefore we are waiting for the decision. We are waiting for the decision for the European Commission and the European Council to take an official decision to move to the second phase of this dialogue. We appreciate the results obtained under the mobility partnership with the Republic of Moldova, and we would like to encourage all member states of the European Union to join this partnership in order to strengthen cooperation in the area of migration. We are fully aware that Moldova will have better European perspectives if Moldova implements fully its commitments that we have undertaken upon our accession to the Council of Europe. Our priority in our relations with the Council of Europe is to complete this monitoring process and to move on to a post-monitoring phase, because these goals have been consistently reflected in our programs of this government. So based on this objective, but in order to ensure a stricter monitoring of the implementation of our obligation, on the 13th of July 2012, the Moldovan Parliament has adopted an action plan. It is called the Action Plan on Honoring by the Republic of Moldova of its commitments towards the Council of Europe. This document represents, first and foremost, a consolidated message. It is a message about the commitment of the Moldovan authorities to promote systemic reforms, in spite of the consequences of the global financial crisis. This exercise represents an action, a platform for action, and in this platform each institution has a role, and also this exercise shows political maturity of the political leadership and of the society as a whole. We count on further support of the Parliamentary Assembly in the implementation of reforms and helping Moldova to move on to the post-monitoring dialogue. I assure you, the time is right for this step to be made, because we have the arguments and we have the evidence to support this natural objective. The Republic of Moldova has a real potential, and therefore Moldova should be offered a differentiated approach, and its citizens deserve to be encouraged, and they should be assured that they have their place in the space of European democratic values. Personally, I look forward to the forthcoming visit to Chisinau of Parliamentary Assembly co-rapporteurs for the Republic of Moldova, and I'm convinced that they will have the possibility to see for themselves on the ground the progress that our country has made in fulfilling its commitments. And this idea has been confirmed by the distinguished Parliamentary Assembly in its resolution 1895 of 2012. I have noted with satisfaction the findings and the encouragements of the Parliamentary Assembly stated in this important document. Finally, I would like to congratulate the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe and all its MPs for their continuous and noble work. And I would like to assure you, your work here is highly appreciated by member states. Thank you for disseminating the fundamental values of our organization. And I would like to encourage you to continue the process of reforming the Parliamentary Assembly so that the Parliamentary Assembly becomes more effective and more visible. We all need to combine our efforts to provide our citizens and our countries with a better future. Thank you.